Wednesday, 1900 Mountain Time, right here on Colorado HD, also known as XLX 303D, as in Delta. We're here to talk about digital ham radio, and our primary intent is to answer your questions and listen to your comments and your experiences. Now, we do prefer to take check-ins online. Please go to ham.live with any device browser. That's ham.live. There's no com or anything in there. And if you have a Gmail email address, you click on that button and follow the prompts. And if you have a regular email address, you can put it in a little box there, and it will say when you email, and you'll follow those prompts. Reset for the timer. However, we will be taking some check-ins over the air before and at the end of the net. So we will get you if you can't get to a computer or don't want to get to a computer. It's okay. All right. We also offer a few ways, at least this week I think it's one, of listening to the net over that Brandmeister hose line. And we will be putting that link into the chat room here. That is hose.brandmeister.network, and you're looking for Talk Group 3108. Excuse me, ColoradoDigital.net. Okay. Let's see. Are there any announcements of interest to the group before we proceed? Please call net control. Hey Chris, this is Rod, KC0YJR here in Fort Collins. I just tried to check in online. Just wanted to check in. If that doesn't work, just let you know I'm here and listening. Okay. I don't see you checked in there. I can check you in manually if you like. And if you want to try and figure out how to get in there for the chat room, please welcome. But I got you here shortly here, as soon as my hands are free. Okay, nothing else heard. Everybody remember that this is the directed net. If you like, please direct your traffic and roll. If you have a question or comment, please say your call sign twice for us. Once phonetically and once normally. And wait for us to call on you. Now, if you are in ham.live, there's a couple of great little features. If you look at the bottom of your screen there is a hand up symbol. If you're in there and have a question, just click that hand up and we will see that you have your hand up and a question. And you can also call out as I mentioned earlier. The other feature is that star that's there. If you click on that, every time this net hand.live goes live, you will get an email letting you know. And I like that feature. Reminder. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to run down the names that we have already in the hand.live. We have 29, and I just have to put one in manual, and I'll be right back. Okay. Here we go. So of course we start with myself and Bucky, W0SUN, KB2IDX, KF0IGK, W1BKW, KF0MYC, KJ5AXO, KF0ODD, KF0OTF, KO6AQP, ZL2BEZ, KE0YAK, AC0XW, VE4CA, N0AA, KE0SMR, W0KVZ, N0KU, W0AFR, W1VAN. Alrighty. Bucky, are you available if I start doing some check-ins over there? Can you do the login on that? Yes, sir. Hang on a second. Okay, testing, W0SUN. Stand by a second. Yeah, it appears we're having some problems with the reflector. Stand by. Alright, let me see if I'm... Okay, so what was happening, I was replying to you and I was talking to you. You could not hear me. It appears we're having some problems with the reflector, maybe? Because I was in on the reflector and you could not hear me, so...
Hey, everybody.
Make sure you stand by a little bit of extra space, but let's just deal with this here in just a minute, and let me Are you taking over the air check-ins right now? Not yet, but well, I was going to start doing that, if you would like. I was wondering if you were ready to do the logging. Yeah, I'm ready to do the logging. Let me check with Josh real quick, one of our main engineers, KF0LPT. I am on Wires X. I am going to switch to YSF. So Josh, watch the logs if you can, if you're there and able to get on the logs on the reflector. Stand by. My next transmission will be on YSF. Okay, this is Bucky. Okay. W0SUN, and now it's working. Wow, go figure. All right, so just keep in, if you're available and you can remote into the reflector there, just keep watching it for me there, Josh, and that would be really cool. Thanks a lot, KF0LPT. That's here for one of our top engineers on the cutout digital reflector. Woo, yeah, everybody, hands up. All right, there you go. And I am now ready. Go ahead and take it, Chris. Well, alrighty then. Anyone out there would like to check in over the air, please come now. This is KB2IDX. WA3VHL, Whiskey Alpha 3, Victor, Hotel Lima, Glen, in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Kilo Foxtrot 0, India, Charlie India, Matt, Olathe, Kansas. WD0CIV, WD0CIV, Charles in Denver, just checking in, waiting around for a live dog, ham dog live, whatever. Anyway, it'll show up eventually. Kilo Foxtrot 0 Alpha Golf Whiskey. Kilo Foxtrot 0 Alpha Golf Whiskey. Jim, Green Valley, Arizona. Okay. We added KF0LGZ and 2 BOC, WA3VHL, KF0ICI, WD0CIV, and KF0AGW, bringing us up to 37 check-ins tonight. And that takes care of the intro. Sir Bucky, what do you got for us tonight, sir? The world is dying to know. Over to you, KB2IDX. How was I supposed to prepare something? Man, I thought you had that or something, whatever. No, just kidding. Hey, everybody, this is Bucky W0SUN. I am so happy to be back. I have to say a big thank you to Chris, KB2IDX, for handling things while I was not able to get on the air. Although I was participating, I was listening for most of it, and I was so tempted to PTT and try to answer, but I had no voice. So I had this yucky flu bug last week, and I still have a cough, so if I start coughing, bear with me. Make sure everybody practice safe communication, and we'll be fine tonight. All right, but yeah, that was a blast. That was really fun to, well, it was interesting trying to listen and not comment. I wanted to comment so many times, but I just had to get all those comments and words stored up and a lot of energy ready to go. So, yeah, thanks everybody, and we already have 38 check-ins. That's fantastic. We're here every Wednesday night on Colorado HD. Why do we call it Colorado HD, first of all? Colorado Hotspot Discussion. When we first put all these Brandmeister talk groups together, we had a killer net called Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, and we got to have our own talk group, Colorado Hotspot Discussion Talk Group, and we just keep using this, and you can call it Colorado HD, Hotspot Discussion, Hotspot Digital, High Def, whatever you want. That's where we are. All right. Well, let's see. I got a few things on my mind. Let me pause. All right. First of all, I want to see at this point if you have any questions out there. We just added Steve, KA1 CNF from New York. I got you there, Steve. So let's see if anybody out there has any questions. Anybody have any good questions? Come on in with your call sign. We'll see what we can do for you. This is Bucky W0SUN. Questions. Come on in with your questions.
This is KF0AGW, new to this talk group, and I have a question as to how to check in online rather than on the air.
W0SUN. We have an interesting situation going on. We have two different conversations. Things kind of split. Hang on a second. I gotta fix my radios. I've got KF0AGW with a question on, and he's coming in on hotspot, and I'm on coming in through a hotspot. And Chris, what did we have going on Wires X when I was on the other side? Yeah, we had Rod, KC0YJR. His question was, is it important either way to, when using a hotspot, to turn the hotspot on first and then turn the radio, or vice versa? And my answer is, I don't think it really matters, but I usually have the radio on when the hotspot boots up. So if it matters, I turn the radio on first. And I'm going to send it back to you, Bucky, and if that's okay with you, if you've got your other one clear, you can check with Rodney. His call sign was KC0YJR. Okay, Rodney, KC0YJR, stand by. So this is going to be tricky. So Chris, you and I are going to have to keep an eye on the reflector and watch when, see if we're missing some conversations going on. It's really bizarre. So I don't know about you, but I'm watching a lot of things, but it's kind of hard to catch everything. Let me see if KF0LPT, are you out there, Josh?
KF0LPT here. Yeah, I've got the logs pulled up and watching things as I'm talking right now. And I don't know, yeah, I didn't see anything weird when that last transmission happened, but I'm going to keep an eye on it.
Okay, so how it works is Wires X is tied into the Brandmeister master server. So if the reflector has issues, Brandmeister and Wires X is going to be fine. Now if the reflector is tied into Brandmeister, so it's kind of nice we have a buffer. So if Wires X is having problems, it's not going to affect the reflector in Brandmeister. So we've got two sides of the coin. The only problem is if we're on Wires X, we're not going to hear what's happening on YSF sometimes. So I've got KF0AGW standing by, so Jim, I know you can hear me on the reflector. Let's go over to KC0YJR. What do you got? Go ahead and take the mic.
Yeah, so this is Rod for Collins KC0YJR. I think Chris answered my question about the radio, the sequence. Either do you turn your hotspot on first and then the radio, or vice versa. I'm going to just start, actually, I've had the most consistency, just like Chris said, if I turn my radio on first and then my hotspot. The other question I have is, like, for instance, I'll be in, and again, I'm new to digital, but like I was on Alice's Restaurant, whatever, it's just a net from the Kansas City worldwide, or Kansas City net, and I could hear Alice, and then some people that responded, I could hear them, and then Alice would respond, and it would just go blank. There's nothing. And sometimes I've been talking to people, I'll talk to them, and they'll come back, and I'll go, oh, okay, that was a great comment, and all of a sudden it just goes silent. So maybe that's just congestion, because it's digital, a lot of people are getting in, so I'll turn it back to you for maybe some suggestions.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? I've been seeing more and more of that, too. I don't know if it's problems with the Wires X server, and I'm kind of leaning toward the Wires X main server in Japan, because I'm hearing this on KCY quite often. The other day I was listening to a conversation, and I was on the hotspot, and I could only hear one side of the conversation. But I got on Wires X, you could hear the whole thing. And vice versa. I've been on Wires X, and I couldn't hear whatever was coming through on the hotspot. So, but I could hear everything on Wires X. So, yeah, that's frustrating. I've been hearing that on KCY. Not only on KCY, it's happening here occasionally, too. So, I don't hear as much over here because we don't get near the amount of traffic. And how can that happen? There's many reasons why that can happen. First of all, internet issues with the reflector. Here's another reason why it happens, and here's a big reason for over here on Colorado HD. What happens here is, if you notice, if you ever poke around our reflector is tied into Brandmeister. There's 3 master servers on Brandmeister. There's 3102, 3103, and 3104. 3101 was around a long time ago, but it got retired. So there's 3102, 3, and 4. 3 master servers for USA. And the reflector is tied into 3102. This WiresX room, however, when we set this up, we set it up on 3103. So that's a good thing because it gives you redundancy, number one. Number two, it could be a weird thing because it's on two different masters. So when I talk on WiresX, which I'm doing right now, I have to go through 3103, and then 3103 talks to 3102, and then 3102 talks to the reflector. So there could be some latency involved. So that could be a bad thing, but it could be a good thing. So you have to look at both sides. If you hear this, if this is happening, and you are on DMR, and you're hearing scrunchy, packet loss, whatever, I don't care which room you're in, if you're hearing packet loss a lot, try switching Brandmeister masters. So if you're on 3102 and you're hearing a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be hearing, or packet loss, switch it over to 3103. It might make a huge difference for 3104. Back over to you from W0SUN.
This is KC0YJR. That's some good advice. I'll definitely do that. And then I'm going to open it back up for all the others that may have questions. And then if there's some time at the end, I'll come back and maybe have a couple more questions. But thank you. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, especially on this reflector, we kind of use Brandmeister as our backbone. And we rely on the Brandmeister service quite heavily. And we're going to talk about we're going to get more into this tonight. This is going to be exciting. I'm excited for some of the topics I have tonight. So one thing you could do on DMR is you can go around Brandmeister and connect directly to the reflector without going through Brandmeister. Paul does this all the time, right, Paul? ZL2 Bravo Echo Zulu. So I'm curious, Paul, how does that work? If you're on a DMR radio and you don't want to connect to the Brandmeister master server, and I don't think you get on Brandmeister too often, how do you connect? How are you connecting tonight? Are you using a DMR radio, and how are you doing that? I'm just curious. Over to Paul.
Hey, hi there, Bucky. Yeah, I just turned my hose line down so I don't get feedback. Yeah, Roger, Bucky. I do connect up using WPSD, and what I've got is I've got a favourite or a profile that allows me to go directly to XLX 303 module Delta. And if you go into the WPSD settings, so if you go, let's have a look, I'll just run through it so we know where we're going. So you go to Admin, on the main dashboard, then you go to Configuration, you scroll down to the DMR configuration, and you'll find right at the bottom of that it's got the XLX network. And you can set up the XLX master to read XLX 303, and then the XLX startup module to read module D for Delta, and then you toggle the XLX master enable, and then apply those settings, and you're directly connected to XLX 303D, the Colorado digital server. Over.
All right, very good, very good. So basically, he's going into the configuration page on the hotspot, and he's going into that first configuration. You go into the DMR configuration. You know how you set up the master? So you can choose TGIF. You can use Brandmeister as the master. So you can use these different masters. So he's choosing XLX as the master. So in a sense, the XLX host can kind of act like a DMR master. And you connect right to it. And there's some strategies involved that we're not going to go into tonight to move around and everything like that. but you can go in and actually set that up kind of like a DMR network. And that's really cool. So you can get right into the reflector that way. That's very cool. And there's more than one way to skin a cat, you know what I mean, so to say, the idiom, and that's pretty cool. All right, thanks, Paul. That was really cool. And there's a picture there. Oh, right. Way to go, Andrew. AC0XW provided a picture right there. So, all right. Let me go over to Jim KF0AGW. Let's see if we can have you repeat your question. All right, I saw you key up, I think. Go ahead one more time. I'm trying to remember what your question was, Jim. Are you able to copy me there? KF0ATW over to you from W0SUN. Okay, I'll see if I can get back to Jim, because I can't remember what the question was. It was a very simple question, too, and I was watching everything and watching all the sideshows going on with all the traffic and everything. All right, so let me gather my thoughts here. We've added Justin, KJ5EBU, and Steve, K3 Foxtrot Zulu Tango. Thanks for joining us. I got you guys added. Stand by. And if I scroll around really quick, KJ7RGR, KF0M, KF0MMT, W5STC, KQ1USA, and KK7RNN. Got you guys added as well. Any other questions out there? Please come now with your questions. This is the time to get in with the questions. This is W0SUN.
ZL2BZ with a recheck. Well, I forgot to mention that you definitely need to turn your radio to talk max when using the XLX servers, over.
Opposed up there.
So you said, and I'm watching two conversations going on. You set your talk group to talk group 6 when you're using the XLX reflector, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That's something I forgot to mention when doing the setup procedure before Bucky, over.
And while we're talking on that, now this is interesting. So you set your talk group to talk group 6 when you're on an XLX reflector. Is that a special number assigned to XLX? And I'm just going to start asking you some questions. Why talk group 6? Talk group 9 is the local talk group. So let's expand upon that a little bit. So when you're on a DMR radio and you want to go directly with an XLX reflector, why talk group 6?
I'm sorry, Bucky, but I don't know the history of it, but I definitely know that that's the talk group you have to use when you are using an XLX reflector. And I think it's something to do with the way that the DMR gateway was set up originally, over.
Yes, now we're getting somewhere, and I have a direction we're going, by the way. Yes, it has everything to do with the DMR gateway. So we're using the DMR gateway on WPSD, and we're using Talk Group 6. And this is perfectly going into what I want to talk about. So this is perfect. So Talk Group 6 XLX reflectors. What about if I wanted to connect to QuadNet server X, or one of the X servers? Or what if I wanted to talk with AMCOM or TGIF? Do those have numbers assigned? And I'm going to go somewhere with this, so how does that work? And what do you use to get on the other DMR networks with your leading talk group there?
Yeah, W0 SUN ZL2BZ. Well, I cheat a bit with the WPSD, and I set my network up for the other networks, such as Brandmeister, DMR Plus, System X, and TGIF as the primary network, and that enables me to select that and not have to worry about prefixes on the talk groups, over.
Okay, perfect, right. So there's certain prefixes that are used based on a configuration file inside the hotspot WPSD. And go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, roger that, Bucky. Yes, there are certain prefixes that do happen, and but I normally run only one network at a time, or maybe an XLX and another network. So, and also the other advantage I have was running an XLX server, for example, for part of the network, and say a main talk group on, say, DMR Plus, is I can set up DMR Plus as a primary network and not have to worry about prefixes, and also it gives me the ability to go into the admin page to the DMR manager and actually turn one of those features off if it becomes awfully busy and I don't need to listen to it, over.
Okay, copy that. So I just put a link to a document, and it talks about these DMR prefixes we're talking about. And yeah, that's good information there. Back over to you.
Yeah, roger, Bucky. Yes, it's interesting, isn't it, the way that the DMR gateway works? And Chip has put a great feature into the WPSD, which allows you to select one of the networks as a primary network, which means that you don't have to worry about programming your code plug of your radio with special talk groups for that particular network, over.
so there is a file that you can actually change these prefixes. So if you want to change them, and you don't want to use 6 for XLX, you can go into the DMR Gateway configuration file. I think it's dmrgateway.ini, and you can map these to what you want. But these are the default mappings. So when using WPSD's configuration page to enable DMR networks in DMR Gateway, these are the mappings it configures already out of the box. So the number one is Brandmeister, because that's the most popular one. And you'll notice that Amcom's not on there. So you're going to choose number 2. And TGIF is on there. And I think you choose 5 for System X. Yeah, I know you use that one a lot. And then 6 for if you want to use the XLX as your master. So yeah, it gets a little bit more involved in this, but this is basically it in a nutshell. So that's why we have the talk group 6. It's a leading prefix talk group. So you can set it up so if you use TGIF, for example, and you don't want to use a leading talk group, you can change it so TGIF is your main one, and you don't have to keep putting a leading talk group in there.
Yeah, Roger, Buggy, that's right. Yes, as I say, Chip has made a great feature there, enabling you to select one of the networks as a primary network, which means you don't have to mess around with the code plug in your radio and set up special talk groups for that particular network, over.
That's right. So, so you're basically, when you're coming in with your DMR radio to XLX303, and let's say we wanted to switch to a different module. So when you first come on in, and just tell me what you do when you talk on Colorado HD. So when you get on the net, tell me the talk group and what you push on the PTT and what that. Let me just the steps that you take to connect the way you are right now. Let's just put that scenario in there.
Yeah, Roger, Bucky. Well, if I have got XLX303 set as my XLX master, and my startup module set to module delta, and I've got the XLX master turned on, then all I will have to use on my radio is talk group 6 to access that particular XLX. In fact, any XLX server worldwide, doesn't matter where you go, will always use talk 6. So that's one particular advantage. You can change the modules on the XLX servers. So, for example, if we wanted to go to the Colorado severe weather or something like that, we could actually, where is it? I've just got to get the dashboard back up here. We can go to module alpha and sit there. But yes, and also the ability to manipulate the module letter that you want to use can be done from the admin screen and from the DMR network manager. And if you go there, you've actually got an XLX. So you can change the XLX reflector number and the module letter from that screen and make a change there on the fly, over.
Okay, so you can make a change on the fly. So you're on a DMR radio. You went into the configuration, chose XLX master, and now you're using talk group 6. And you mentioned moving over to module A. I didn't quite follow you. So where do you put in, for example, um, you have a series of modules similar to DGID on Fusion, right? So let's just take module A. On Fusion it's DGID 10, but what is it on DMR? How do you switch to DMR using this scenario?
Yeah, roger that, Bucky. Well, if you want to switch using the radio's dashboard, if you want to use the switch using the radio, you can do that with a magic 4000 number, with the 6 and the 4000 number after it. Unfortunately, I'm having difficulty with the dashboard on 303 at the moment. It seems to go walkies on me, so I'm going to have to reload it again. As Ron mentioned in the chat there, you got that as well, and also but I was talking about using the WPSD dashboard mainly for my convenience because my computer's sitting in front of me. Over.
Gotcha. So it is my understanding that when you connect on DMR, when you key up with a talk group 6, it anchors. It's like an anchor, and then it takes you with a general. When you do it with a group call to talk group 6, and that's it. That's all you need to do, and then you transmit, and you're fine. Once you put the talk group 6 in, you're good to go with DMR. If you want to move to module A, that's when you do the 4-digit or the magic numbers that you mentioned. So you put a private call in. If you want to move to module A, you do a 4001 DMR. It's just a 4-digit. You put that into your DMR, and then you can move to module A. If you want to move back to module D, it would be 4004. And we're talking module A starts with 4001, module B 4002, module C 4003, and module D 4004. And the reason we come in on module D, on most reflectors, on XLX reflectors, module D is the default. And unless you configure it differently, that's your default module. So when you connect to an XLX reflector and you connect, you're going to land on D. And that's why you land on D, right? And so, and same thing with DGIDs with Fusion, whatever. It's going to be module D. Now, on KCY, they have an XLX 458 reflector, but they reconfigured it. So they only have one module. It's module A. They made that the default. And they put they prohibit moving around to the different modules. So they kept a tight ship. They don't want to confuse everybody. You connect to the XLX 458 reflector and you go right into A. That's the way they did theirs, but we do ours is a little bit differently. So the XLX 303 reflector, no matter what you come in on, whatever you connect, DMR, D-Star, you're connecting to well, DMR and Fusion, you're going to come in on D right away. D-Star is a little differently. They do things a little differently, but it's going to be D. Back over to Paul.
Yeah, roger that, Bucky. Yeah, well, I still have to set up in my XLX my XLX network configuration on the hotspot. I still need to set the target module letter. So I do definitely have to set the target module letter. It's only on Yasu Fusion where you don't have to do that. So you're probably getting a bit mixed up there. Over.
DK3DA.
Yeah, VK3EAN. Go ahead, please.
Nice to talk to you there, buddy. Hope you've been well. You know, it's so difficult to try and catch your nets there, Bucky, because of our time differences, 16 hours. I know Paul up in New Zealand is 3 hours ahead of us, so it's a little bit easier for him to connect because it's more late afternoon, early evening there by him. But us, you know, it's like the middle of the day here, the afternoons, we're out and about doing shopping and so forth. But a reason why I connected with you there, Bucky, sorry I haven't been listening to the whole net, is you had a discussion on OpenGD 77, which I sadly missed, obviously, due to time differences. But is there a recording of it? Because I'd really, if there is, I'd like to keep that. Back to you. VK3EAN to W0SUN.
Yes, there is. You have to go over to the YouTube KE0DC. And he actually recorded that particular net that we did. We've done a couple of them. So go to YouTube, search on Kilo Echo Zero Delta Charlie KE0DC, and Doug recorded these, and it's out there. So just, fortunately, you're gonna have to go through and look at the comments section, and there's a list of topics that we discussed on that particular net. So he's actually did a live recording for a number of years, and unfortunately, his schedule has changed, so he cannot provide that service. So we're looking into something else that we can do to provide that archive discussion. So we're looking into it, but right now, unfortunately, this one's not being recorded, but that one is. So you can go back and look for that on the YouTube channel. Yeah, there's a little bit of a disconnect. So go back and look at the YouTube channel, KE0DC, and in the comments, there's a list of topics. So you're going to have to kind of cruise through all the different events or all the different dates.
Fantastic. You are a star and a half there, Bucky, as per always. KE0 Delta Charlie, KE0DC. Definitely will keep that. I'd love to keep that. And also, quickly, just before I go, I know you've got a lot of people on here. Why is it that my hotspot always, when keying up on a talk group, halfway through just cuts out? Just cuts out and comes back maybe a minute or a half minute later. Basically on all talk groups. Is there something that is stopping it? I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to keep you. You've got a full net here, so have a wonderful evening, my friend. Hope to catch you soon. VK3EAN.
Well, today it seems like we're having a little bit of an issue as we are doing these nets. So I don't know what it is today, but yeah, a little bit of packet loss today. I think there's a problem going on maybe with the WiresX server, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out though. What we're going to do is reset everything this week and then make sure everything's set on our end. And we're looking at the logs and watching things, and on our end, everything seems to be just fine. But thank you, Erman. Good question there. All right. Yeah, this seems really complex and complicated. There is that document that I posted a link to on W0CHP's website. It's a really good link, and he explains it. And I provided that link. I'll provide it again. But in order to navigate as XLX as your master, and you can put the starting module in the configuration right there, so you don't have to rely on D. If you want to use a different module as the default on your end, you can do that. So that's pretty neat. All right, any other questions on this topic? And I need to move on, but any other questions? KF0AGW, I haven't forgot about you. Let's go over to what you had. It was a simple question. Go ahead, Jim. Back over to you. Okay, I'm just making sure things settle down a little bit. Sometimes if you leave a space, you can get things to mellow out a little bit. That's a really good thing to do, is leave a good long space between transmissions sometimes, especially if you've been transmitting quite a few. All right, so the other day I've been working with a couple of people on this new Shark RF device. And if this seems all complicated with you, it's really easy. On an open spot, it works differently. So if you want to cross mode, for example, from Fusion to DMR, and you want a really simple, elegant solution that's you don't have to worry about all these headaches, open spot Shark RF is a really neat way to go. So you just choose the modulation method you're using. So if you're using a Fusion handy-talkie, just choose C4FM, and then you go back and choose whatever network you want to choose, and bingo, you're there. It's really simple, really easy. I included a list of all the networks that they get you in. And with a mic device, this new device that came out, it's a really neat radio. So if you want to use a really simple DMR type radio and get in with and just choose your network, I put in a graphic of the choices you get, and you can just choose and pick and choose which network you want. Now there's all these networks out there, and let me just go through a list of them for you. Okay, some of the popular ones, of course, Brandmeister's out there. That's the most popular network out there. Amcom, that's another one. TGIF, that's a very popular one. And so it just treats these systems as a network. Now, you got to ask yourself, what kind of radio is a mic? If you look at this device, is it a Fusion radio? Is it a DMR radio? Is it a D-Star radio? What is it? And the answer is, it's all of the above. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't do C4FM. It doesn't do DMR. It's a communications device, and you pick that up, and then you choose whatever network. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if it's Fusion. It doesn't care if it's DMR. You configure it, and then you just choose whatever network. They're all equal. So I can choose Brandmeister just as easy as I can choose YSF. It doesn't matter. So the only thing that matters is you have to put in your hotspot security password. Or in TGIF, you got to set up a security system with TGIF, and that's the only thing that matters. But all the networks are treated equally. So if I want to go in Brandmeister, I just choose Brandmeister. If I want to choose Amcom, it's right there. I just choose Amcom. TGIF, whatever. If I want to go into NXDN, I just choose NXDN. Oh, but wait. You can't just choose NXDN because you need a separate radio ID. That's a whole other story. All these networks, it's required that you have a radio ID. And all this radio ID that you get from radioid.net will get you in all these networks equally, all right, except for NXDN. NXDN requires its own special little radio ID. So if you ever want to get on NXDN, you have to go back to radio ID, and you have to request a second ID just for NXDN. So don't let that fool you. But all these networks that are right there, just you don't have to worry about leading talk groups or anything like that. It makes it really simple. I kind of like that, and the OpenSpot works kind of the same way. So I've been working with a few people with their mic, and I call it a communication device in the palm of your hand. Paul hates it when I call it a digital radio, right, Paul? Don't call it a digital radio. You can if you want, but he doesn't like it. So because Paul's on here, I'm not going to call it a digital radio. It's a digital communication device in the palm of your hand. And so it's very simple, and people are really happy how easy and simple it is to move around and navigate with all these networks. So if you want to get a list of, I'm going to provide 2 really good sources of listings that I use to find out what's in all these networks. So if you want to delve deeper into this network and all these different networks, I'm going to provide a list. The first one is the one I've been using all these years is Pi-Star. I go to pistar.uk, and even though let's say if I have an open spot, I go to pistar.uk, and I can start drilling down on all these different communication networks out there. I can choose DMR, and then I can go in further and choose all these different networks. I can choose YSF, and then I can choose the YSF type networks. And there's more than one. There's YSF and there's FCS. And so when I'm going through with my radio and I want to connect to some of these, it's really, really cool that I can do that. Let me pause. So I was just helping Jim, KF0 AGW. I was helping him when he, I was helping him do a YSF to DMR network. He needs to get over to talk group 31086. And so we set up YSF to DMR. So that was really neat. And he was able to go jump from his Fusion FT70D radio and jump over to Brandmeister and key up talk group 31086. That was really cool. And you can go do the same thing with DMR. You can go DMR to YSF. Now, I wish I could do YSF to D-Star, but if you look on your hotspot, on Raspberry Pi-based hotspots using the MMDVM digital voice modem, you cannot jump from YSF to D-Star. I wish you could do that. Now, on the mic, you can do that. You can just jump from YSF to, well, you can do it on an open spot. On an open spot, you can jump over to D-Star, but you can't do that on a Raspberry Pi. So the mic is really cool because you can just go jump right into D-Star. You can choose the REF, XLX, or XLRF reflectors, and that's really nice. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm not trying to put an ad out there, but I'm just trying to give you a choice. If you're listening to this network and you're thinking about getting a hotspot, you can go the easy peasy, simple route of going over to Shark RF devices, either the OpenSpot or the mic or whatever, or you can go over to Raspberry Pi based, and you can go over to DMR or Fusion, and you can't unfortunately cross mode over to D-Star. And why is that? The reason you can't do that on D-Star is, let me reset and I'll tell you. So the reason And it's just like an XLX reflector. If you wanted to set up your own XLX reflector, and you just want to service DMR and Fusion, forget about the D-Star, okay? Fusion and DMR. You don't have to have a separate transcoding server. But if you want to bring D-Star into the mix, now you have to add a transcoding server. And a transcoding server is a server that has a bunch of ambi chips with USB sticks. You actually buy a series of them and you plug them in and you create an ambi server. And you point your XLX reflector to the ambi server and they work in conjunction. It doesn't have to be a separate server, by the way. It can be on the same server too. But you have to set up an ambi process with these chips in order to allow D-Star. And if you wanted to do that with a Raspberry Pi, let's say if you created your own hotspot with your own operating system and you wanted to do YSF to D-Star, you have to include a way to add these chips in. And that's what SharkRF did. So with their OpenSpot, they provided some technology that let you jump from YSF to D-Star, or DMR to D-Star, or D-Star to DMR. So they let you do that because of that technology. They found a way to include a way of transcoding twice from YSF over to D-Star. But so far on the Raspberry Pi-based Pi-Star hotspots, you cannot do that. And the reason is the chipset. The D-Star radios use a different chipset, an earlier version of the ambi chipset that the DMR and the YSF Fusion radios use a whole different next generation. So ambi 1 on D-Star, ambi 2 on DMR and Fusion. So because they share the same chipset, even though they're two different modulation methods, it's easy to do transcoding with a Pi-Star based hotspot versus an open spot. So that's why you have to you can't do that on the Pi-Star, and you can't do that on the XLX. So if you want to do a cheap XLX reflector, you're only able to do DMR and Fusion. You can't do D-Star. Now you can set up a separate module so all your D-Star clients can use a separate module and talk to each other. But if they want to share the same module with everybody else, you have to have a transcoding server. This is W0SUN. Alright, this is the Digital Learning Net. We're here every Wednesday. And I'm going to pass it over to, this is W0SUN, I'm going to pass it over to Chris and get us up to speed on what's happening. I'm not watching the chat room. Let me know what's happening in the chat room or how many people we've come in on that have come into the chat room. Go ahead, KB2IX, over to you from W0SUN.
Okay, sir. Let me first get the chat room log caught up. And we've picked up a few more. N0SVC, WD0HDR, VK3EAN, VE7JBX, K7BAV, and WA2NYY. Alrighty, that brings us up to 51. We have been talking about several different things in the chat room. Most recently, about the firmware version of the 168, about the differences. Some people are reporting issues with the 1.05. So that was one thing we were talking about. Excuse me. Any further than that, I'd have to scroll back to tomorrow. But Rod, PC0YJR, he is going to roll his back one version and let us know how that works out. So that is where we're at here. Other than that, We are caught up, sir. And this is KB2IDX.
Okay, did you read the call signs that we've added? I didn't catch that. Somebody moved the marker.
Yes, sir. I sure did. And I'm the one that moved it. Just so I knew where we were. That is all caught up, sir.
Oh, great, great. We're up to 51. Fantastic. So I just put in a list, and I love this list. I used to go to PyStar.uk and click on their list. And if you go to PyStar.uk and then click on DMR, you get all the DMR lists. But this one's actually better. This one, W0CHP.radio. Now, if you go to W0CHP.radio and go to the digital lists, this is, and he says it this way. I love how Chip, W0CHP, this is the WPSD website. This is my ever-popular consummate digital ham radio list. I pull the data each hour from each respective provider API to ensure data quality, and my lists have searching, downloading, sorting capabilities. And they're also more mobile radio friendly, so you can do this on your smartphone. And I love this. So it's W0CHP.radio, and click on Digital Radio Lists, and all these different networks that we're talking about, ADN, Amcom, Brandmeister, DMR Plus, etc., etc., etc. Man, you can go and drill down, and you can search in these. You can see what's available on these networks. Not all networks are created equally, so that's the beauty of this list. Is I use this now more often than I do the other one, and then I can find out all the different talk groups. For example, Jamie in Alabama, KQ1 USA. He's got this really great talk group on Amcom, and it's bridged over to QuadNet Array System X, and it's called the White Lightning Talk Group. And it's on there. It's out there. You go out these lists, it's there. If you want to go to Dr. Parrott's office, he's got Chris has got a talk group out there. Dr. Parrott's office, it's out there. Go to Amcom, click on it, search on Parrott, you're going to find it. If you want to go to our talk group, we have a talk group out there, and guess what it's called? It's called Colorado Digital 31088. Is it connected to our Brandmeister? No, but it's a separate talk group out there, and sometimes we have some good conversations out there. But just click on Colorado, and you're going to find it. So yeah, these networks are out there, and this is a really good list. So you can go and search, and he's got a really good searching mechanism. All right, so we're caught up here. This is Bucky, W0SUN. Does anybody else have any questions? And Jim, I've been trying to get you on the system, and maybe you're having some communication problems. And I think I tuned out. Anybody else with any questions? Any questions? Please come now with your questions. This is W0SUN. All right, I just found out that in a couple of weeks I'm heading over to Utah, and I'm going to be attending the Digital Communications Conference. I'm presenting there too. I'm going to do a presentation on how Fusion can fit into your digital networks, and how it can fit into your overall I don't know, linking into your different systems. Anyway, I'm providing a presentation, but what I'm going to do, this is what I'm thinking. I got one of these mic devices, and you hold it. You got this lanyard around your neck. So I'm going to have my mic. I'm going to be walking around with my mic. I'm going to have my name tag, which is a red flashing banner. It's like a marquee on my chest. So it's going to be going W0SUN Bucky, W0SUN Bucky, flash, flash. I got the mic. I'm going to be lit up, man. I'm even thinking about getting a hat with lights on it. I don't know. You think it's too much? I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, maybe not that extreme, but maybe one of these swap vests. If you see some guy, some nerdy, really weird geek guy running around, walking around with lit up, it might be me. All right, over to KB2IDX. What do you got? Back over to you from W0SUN.
I got a hat somewhere with a little propeller on the top of it there. You can just spin that thing around. Excuse me. I don't have anything else, Bucky. Nothing really big happened this past week, but I know that some people are getting ready to go to Orlando for Hamcation. And my thoughts was we're going to hear about the release at either Hamcation or Hamvention in I forget when. Used to call it Dayton, but now called Hamvention. I think it's more likely to be Hamvention. There's still a lot of pondering about the price point on that. What is the model on it? STX1. Yeah, something like that. So that'll be pretty cool. Other than that, if you're going to Orlando, have fun. Back to you, Bucky. Nothing else. KB2IDX.
Okay, I was able to. Oh, there you go. You gotta come into this chat room, man. It makes attending the net so much more fun. You never know what's gonna pop in there. Somebody just put this really glowy hat on. I gotta get me one of those. Oh, that is awesome. With my call sign flashing. No, I don't like to bring attention to myself. Not one bit. Nothing whatsoever. No. I'll just sit in the corner and flash and have a propeller on my head. So I was over at Ham Radio Outlet today in Denver here, and I was asking him when is this new radio going to be released? This oh, hang on a second, let me reset. Okay, so this FTX1F, I've been really anticipating this radio, and I'm really bummed that we don't have it yet. Because we announced this last year. I mean, I swear it was September. And this FTX-1F, they're taking reservations. Delivery is delayed, obviously, because it's not out yet. But it's this, it's kind of like ICOM IC705. And I understand it's going to, I was talking to people over on Ham Radio Outlet, and they said, we do know this. The screen is going to be the same screen as, what is it, the Yaesu DX10 HF radio. So they're going to have a really, really large display. And I've been thinking it's going to be the same size as an FTM 500. It's actually going to be a little tiny bit bigger than an FTM 500. So if you compare the 705 next to the 500, they're about the same size. The 705 has a bigger screen, and I think the FTX-1F is going to have a big screen. Now, if you don't know what this radio is, hang on to your hats, because this is going to be a really cool radio. It's HF, all mode. That means it gives you sideband, AM, FM, CW, right? Everything, plus it gives you C4 FM. And it gives you UHF, VHF, HF, 6 meters, 10 meters, all that, all the above. And it lets you do C4 FM on 10 meter HF band. That's really cool. So now there's two radios soon, two radios that are going to have C4 FM 10 meter capability. Yes, you can do C4 FM on 10 meters. You can have a digital communication conversation on 10 meters. So somebody has a 991A or an FTX1F. That's pretty awesome. There's only one catch, though, and here's the catch. It's a low-power rig, so this new radio is going to maybe put out 10 watts if you have a source of energy, or you get the battery pack, and it's going to give you 5 watts. You can always put an amplifier on it, but yeah, if you want to have a 10-watt radio in your car, all mode, this is the way to go. Okay, and then I asked them about what's going on with the mobile radios. Like, how come there's no more FTM 300s in stock? They discontinued the FTM 200. So now the only mobile radio we have is the FTM 500. And that's really sad because that's kind of pricey. So, and I'm hearing, they said, they're coming out with new generation of radios. So all these new FM radios they're coming out with. And so I expect they're even going to announce a new C4 FM mobile radio soon. And I don't know if it's the supply chain, what's going on, but I'm really bummed that they discontinued the FTM 200, the FTM 400, and now the FTM 300, you can't get your hands on one. I hear maybe DX Engineering has one. I don't know, I'm hearing this, but you can't get your hands on one. So if you got them, man, hold on to them for a little while. Maybe they're going to be worth something. But so I'm kind of bummed out that those mobile radios are going out of stock and are not available. So I'm glad I bought my FTM 200 when I did, because that's a screaming radio. I love that FTM 200. And my wife just acquired it. Well, she acquired an FTM 500, so that's kind of cool too. So I'm glad we got one of those. All right. Anything else on new radios? Any other announcements on new firmware? You probably talked about it. Over to KB2IDX from W0SUA.
They are still talking about the firmware. And a particular phrase that I used last week has been used again. I think, Bucky, that we can take some over-the-air check-ins, at least see if anybody else is out there at this point. Stand by one. And also want to remind everybody, when we do officially close, it's not the end, because immediately following, we have the after hours show, which is just hang out, chat, ask questions, nothing formal. I'll be there, Bucky will be there, everybody will be there. stop by. Okay. Anybody left out there that would like to check in over the air, please call net control now.
Alpha Foxtrot 0 Sierra Foxtrot. AF 0 SF in and out.
November 7 Echo Mike Golf. November 7 Echo Mike Golf. Mobile in and out.
Okay. Recognize AF0SF and N7EMG. Anyone else out there? And easy. Made it just under the wire, Mike. We got you. And 2BEC. Okay. I have nothing more. I have a script, but before I go into the script, Bucky, do you have anything that you would like to say before we close it down and move into the after hours? Over to you, sir. KB2IDX.
Okay, hold on the phone. Hold on. Sounds like the time that I was driving and my mic got stuck between the seats, but I wasn't at an airport. Oh man, we got a stuck mic. N0 OHM. Let me pause. Gesundheit. Okay, alright. So, yeah, I just want to say, we've got